Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and today what I want to talk about is this era of piracy that is fast approaching us. In fact, it is coming in less than 24 hours, right? Our rewards track here ends in less than a day, which is the start of Captain Itano's marquee event tomorrow. So we're going to talk about this era of piracy. We're going to approach this from kind of two perspectives. The perspective of I'm going to skip pirates and what does that mean? And the people who are going to be fully participating with this era and going crazy. I feel there's a lot of players in the community who are going to fit on that side of skip pirates. I'm going to tell you right now, just like we called out Logan on Three Scoundrels the other night. Logan's like, I'm not spending on pirates. I'm not doing pirates. We're all like, yeah, BS. You're going to farm the pirates. There's a lot of players who are talking big that they're going to go very hard on pirates, right? They're going to go hard because that's what they do. So there are people who I think legitimately will ignore this faction, and we'll talk about what you need to do for that. But like, don't think that no one's going to get the pirates, because people are. And the one thing I will say, much like we've seen with a lot of these newer characters, they're going to be good. Even like Mace Windu, he's still pretty solid. Like, he's better than not having him. And, you know, GL Hondo, you know, Galactic Legends Ahsoka, those are all good things, and the characters with them are good. So there is a feeling here that if you're going to skip, you're going to be down compared to the players who have this. So I want to at least say that before we completely get in here and start talking about it, right? But what I've got to give a shout out now to is, of course, our channel members. I couldn't do half of what I do without these channel members, not just like, you know, through their like monetary support, but just the, you know, support behind the scenes that, hey Phil, can you help me with this? Or here's an idea for a video. They contribute a lot in that way, and that's really important to me. I really can't thank them enough just for all they do. So if you guys are ever interested, again, that link is below, along with a link to our Discord server. Go check it out. Just really appreciate everybody kind of keeping the faith, believing in me through good, bad, right, wrong, indifferent, whatever it is. You guys are awesome, and I can't thank you enough for everything. So let's get in here and let's talk about this era of piracy. All right, everyone. So let's kind of, you know, hey, coming in 24 hours here, right? You know, coming soon. Pirates are in the game, and it's going to be a problem. So obviously this all culminates in getting Galactic Legends Hondo. So we're going to first focus on, okay, what do you do if you're going after this pirate era? So with Captain Itano coming in, if you are free to play and you're trying to figure out how to spend your crystals, you're trying to figure out, hey, what do I do? This is where it starts, and this is where you need to be really, really understanding and careful here. So you're going to have 6 marquee characters. And if you remember, they showed the era battles that it's going to be 3 and 3, right? So there's going to be an era battle with 3 of them and another era battle with 3, which we can assume would be Captain Itano, Quiggold, and Kix, since they're all together. They're all crew members, right? Kix is on that, you know, group. And then Brutus, Vane, Captain Silva, which again, all makes sense since they are characters in Skeleton Crew. So again, I think those are going to be the 2 era battles. Very different than the Jedi Vanguard and Clones, where Clones, there was 4 characters inside of the era battle, and for Jedi Vanguard, there was 2. They're now balanced. It's 3 and 3, which from invest in one versus the other, they're both the same. They're both equivalent because you're going to get the same thing out of each one. Now, again, what we don't know is if the second one will include Shard, or like will make you have GL Hondo, kind of like they did with Mace Windu in the Jedi Vanguard one. We're not sure there, but you can at least assume that from a Shard's perspective, 3 and 3. So with this Captain Itano marquee coming up, you want to get to that 28 of 65. This is the most important area to get to, the 28 of 65. Again, shout out Egnards for helping me not be an idiot or mongoloid when I was putting this together. So what you want to do is make sure that you can get to this 28 of 65, which again is really just one purchase of the $5.99 pack. It might be a little bit more, it could be, you know, less. It all just depends on your RNG, but this is potentially enough. And that's through all the free shards that you get. That's through everything else that you're going to be able to obtain during this time. You should easily be able to get to this point of 58 to 65 at the end of the marquee. You're going to get 7 shards from the first tier of the era battle, and then you'll have a 5-star character and be able to participate in the era battles. So again, I went through all of this in another video, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. I will share it below. But this goes for any kind of character that's going to be in an era battle in the first one. So if you're free to play, we're going to spend on Captain Itano, right? And then Quiggled and Kix, we're just going to hold off on. These guys, the only reason you'd really need to rush Quiggled and Kix is if they're, to max out an era battle and to get them in the raid. Otherwise, there's no reason to rush these guys. They're going to be much more accessible than Brutus, Vayne, and Captain Silvo, who are going to come closer to Hondo's release, with Captain Silvo being the final pirate released out of these marquee units. So then, right, in this next era battle, you'll have Brutus, Vayne, Captain Silvo in the next group of characters. In my personal opinion, you're going to do the same thing that you do with Itano with Brutus. Going to get him to 28 of 65 so that by the time you get through that first tier of the marquee, he's 5-star and you're able to start working on that era battle. Now, Vayne and Captain Silvo are going to, again, be a lot harder to obtain their shards for because they're going to be released much closer to Hondo coming into the game. My advice here, you're not spending crystals on Quiggled and Kix. You're going to spend the crystals on Brutus, and then with Vayne and Captain Silvo, I would start really making sure that we're not spending a lot of bonus crystals. If you're concerned about how quickly to get Hondo and things, you can do that. Otherwise, you do it free to play however fast you want. But if you're trying to get him relatively quickly, there's a point to be rushing. And the thing with Hondo is Galactic Legends are not time constrained, right? Remember, if we flip back over to the game here, Galactic Legends are not time constrained. Like right now, you see the Mace Windu. We've got 21 hours of the Mace Windu event left, right over here in the corner. You see 21 hours. And again, I can't even access it, but it's 21 hours. So with Hondo, that's not going to be the case. He's going to be available whenever you're actually ready for him. So I think, like, for me, as if you're someone who's like, hey, there's a little bit more, hey, I can rush Hondo a little bit. And I can get Hondo in, say, 4 months, and it's not a big deal, compared to, like, if you're ready for if you're ready for Mace in 4 months, you're not going to be able to unlock him for another 2 anyways. Where Hondo, there is that potential that, hey, I can get him, and so if you're free to play, I would be considering saving some crystals to try to rush these characters, whether that's extra refreshes on their nodes, shipments, Java scavenger deals, whatever the case is. So that to me is, okay, you're going to participate with this pirate era, you're going to go hard. What about those of you who are going to sit there and say, I'm skipping this era, I don't care, I don't want GL Hondo, CG's stupid, they're the worst thing ever, and, I'm not doing this. If you don't want the pirates, you have no interest in farming this faction, you're going to work on other things, that's fine. What I will say, though, my word of caution here is, number one, these guys could be needed for more than just the raid. We've seen it before. We'll see it again, I'm sure. They could be needed for more in the raid. They could be needed for more than just the raid right now. The other thing that I feel that goes along with that is if you're not going to farm the pirates, you're not going to farm Hondo, then I'm going to tell you that you basically need to get Jedi Master Mace Windu. That sounds really harsh, but I think if you are going to sit there and skip pirates, you at least need to get Mace. For a couple of reasons. Number one, think about Conquest. There's going to be pirate feats. So if you don't have them, you're going to need something else that will probably be there, which will be Jedi Vanguard, Clone Trooper stuff. So you'll want this, to get through what Conquest will be, which again, that's going to be challenging. But I also think it does come a little bit of the raid. If you're going to skip pirates entirely, then you need to be able to put up some decent points in the raid, or else guilds won't want to have you. And this raid is proving to be a lot easier to do, a lot easier to accomplish than the Battle for Naboo. So I think if you're like, hey, I'm skipping pirates, I don't care, I get Mace Windu. Especially if you are a competitive player, to be behind both Mace Windu and Hondo for any significant period of time, you're going to notice differences. That's 2 major characters. And even if Mace Windu isn't Galactic Legend status, I'm still seeing him beat some decent things. You're still using good things to beat Mace Windu. It's not like Mace Windu is losing to, Iden Versio or like, I'm trying to think of another, like, B-rate team or whatever that you're like, it's not like this team is losing to Tuscans or something. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to be a team that I saw, this team lose to, or I saw, like, Treya fail against this team. Like, this is going to be a team that is going to be good, and it's got the Dark Side Clone Troopers to go with your Lord Vader. So that's something I will say, is that if you are going to skip this pirate era, then I would really recommend getting Mace Windu, because otherwise you're going to be so far behind in the overall game that it's going to be detrimental to your performance, not just in the raid, but even to guilds like looking in. I can tell you, if you're like, oh, Phil, I'm a 4 million GP player, then if you're 4 mil GP, don't worry about trying to get Hondo. But don't necessarily, like, not build a pirate or two if they're going to benefit your account. Like, there does come a point where it's like, okay, just build what you need to do well and, whatever your guild needs, and then start, building the rest of the stuff. Like, I don't want this to be that way. If you are that point in the I would say this, though. I will say this. Even if you're like, I'm not going after pirates, I'm still going to tell you that going and getting the shards for this era battle is going to be really, really important. This sets you up so much for the future that you're going to get shards for however long that era battle is going on, and then for every single time after that. So maybe you're not ready for Mace Windu. Maybe you're not ready for GL Hondo for 2 years. But if you've gotten extra shards through those era battles, that's going to pay off way down the line, that you're going to be so much closer to them. That is one of the reasons I was actually able to catch up as much as I did, is that my account, even though I took a year and a half off of this game, I had all of these shards built that it just became a gear problem, and gear is a lot faster to solve than character shards. So even if you're like, I'm skipping pirates, don't skip out on the era battles, right? That is, the big fat Phil advice. And again, if you're like, I'm not getting Mace Windu and I'm not getting the pirates and I don't care about this raid, and Phil, go screw yourself. Listen, then this video wasn't for you, and if you're still watching, thank you. But I would say that, I'd really consider it, because the raid is the most important free-to-play source of income. This is your gear pieces. This is what allows you to utilize stuff for other means, right? This is where your arrow magnifiers, your impulse detectors, if you do need Gerda keypads, like, this is where that stuff comes from. And I really want you to understand the importance of that and the significance. And so if you're like, I'm skipping pirates, then I would get maced to potentially do this raid. Finally, guys, I did want to just say this. I know there's a lot of negativity. I know I've attributed some of it to, listen, I'm not at all pleased that it's GL Hondo. I don't think that pirates were something that deserve a galactic legend. And so I will say that. I understand that. That does not mean that my competitive edge will keep me from getting Hondo. It's the same thing with Reva. This is the worst, again, somebody was like, called me an edgelord for saying this, which is so funny. I had to look that up on freaking Urban Dictionary. This is probably, outside of the Acolyte ever existing, which is the worst, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to Star Wars. I think her character was so bad. And it's not necessarily the actress's fault, although I don't think she was great. It just was, she was a character of no consequence, right? You delete her from the story and everything still works. But I still farm her. I still use her all the time, because regardless of how I feel about her outside of the game, inside of the game, she's a friggin' boss, right? It's going to be the same thing I would feel with Hondo. Even if you don't like this guy, even if you don't know who Captain Atano and Quiggled and Kix are, if they still kick ass in this game, why would you not want them for your account? You're just silly at that point. So, like, subscribe, comment, guys. That's my thoughts for the era of piracy. Let me know what you think down below. I love you all. May the force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.